Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Jenk Plays with me, Jenk Coffington. And today we're playing some more Transport Fever 2. Last episode we spent a bit of time developing our food production facilities down here, using the river to transport farm product to our food production factory and shipping it back across the river to a distribution hub, which we then use to ship food to Oceanside and McKinnon. And one of the things we also did last episode was to shortcode all of our cities to make it easier for us to track where our routes are going to. So if we look at our routes, we can see we've got road freight, Las Vegas to LR, which is then going to be Little Rock. And this then makes it easier to see the location of the place that the production facility is and also where it's being shipped to. So when we're looking through here trying to track our lines, it makes it a bit easier to think about what we're doing. It also means when we get to trains, we have very long train lines, potentially we could have all of the cities be short-coded in. I don't know why I'm doing that, suggesting that we could potentially link Little Rock, Oceanside, McKinnon. I mean, we probably could, but I don't know if you were here for episode 1, but when we tried to put a bridge in, that was very expensive. And it's going to be a while, I think, until we could really justify the cost of fording this river here. So yeah, maybe later on we'll get to that, but for now I think let's not. So there are a couple of things I think I may be doing today, one of which was expanding food production here, so we can see this farm here. Last episode we discovered that we could put another harbour here, no port, and use that to ship more farm goods into our food production factory here. Another thing I was considering was potentially improving transport links between the cities on this island here, as there seems to be where we've got quite a lot of supply at the moment and they don't have much transport, so we could potentially put in a transport link from Oceanside through to McKinnon, potentially up to Salt Lake City. I'm not sure that these towns are quite big enough to warrant the investment of a train just yet, but it could be that we put in some simple transport links by bus, well, cart at this point, like we did down here where we've got our Fairfield to Pueblo Fargo link. We can see they're quite popular. In fact, that one's actually quite close to capacity, and that one is also. So what I'm thinking today, of those two things we've just discussed, I think this is probably going to be more useful in the medium term, and then potentially we could come back to do this another time when we scale up our industry, because we can see that demand is going to grow in these places as well. So if we put transport in, that will increase the demand, which means that we need to get more food across, and that will give us more of a justification for expanding this food production here. So let's just think about what we want to do then. So first of all, we probably want to put in, depending on the size of the town, so Oceanside is probably just about big enough to justify a loop, and then we could put an out-of-town bus stop somewhere either here or here, potentially over here, so we can avoid the commercial traffic. And then we could then put in a bus line to McKinnon, which is actually also quite big, and that's probably warranting a loop as well. We won't be able to get a bypass in at this point. It might be something we come back to later. Once we're in the mid to late game, we could put in a bypass potentially through and around or under, or potentially even out to sea, but that might be out to sea in the river, but that might be more expensive than I'm willing to pay. So for now, I'll probably just have a simple loop and then have a intercity stop potentially somewhere along here. We might have to evict someone to put it in, but I'm sure they won't mind. And then if we follow this up, is there a direct road link? Yeah, so we come up and then the road link terminates here. But there is another road link up and around here to Lathe, which itself is also terminating. So what I might suggest today is if we put in small transport links in Oceanside, McKinnon and Lathe, and then use the existing road network to connect them, and then maybe another day we'll come back and revisit the transport links here. It could be that we put in a ferry for Salt Lake City down to McKinnon, and then they can connect to Lathe and Oceanside. The reason why I'm reluctant to put in roads is because then you get private transport, which then competes with your public transport. So if we put in a boat, that boat is the only way to get to McKinnon from Salt Lake City and Arlington. And that means we can monopolize that route and then make more money, which is ultimately what we're here to do. So yeah, let's get started. So if we start with Oceanside at the bottom and then work our way up. So let's just see if we put in some bus stops. Yeah, so could I have one at the top, one somewhere down the bottom, and then an out of town bus hub there. And let's go trams. I like trams. And then we'll have we want 2 on the right. So the right will be the, if we go 2 on the left, then we have the 2 internal ones, and the right one can be the outbound. So we just align this a little bit, straighten that up, maybe a bit further out to say there. And that then gives them a bit of space to go into. And then if we want, probably want one there. If we say one there. And one there. And then if we link these up as well. I mean, that's going to be ugly no matter how we do it. Let's just have it as an angle for now. And they'll come round, we'll link that up. Also thinking if I want to put tram tracks in. We'll do that after the fact. There we go. Tram track, yes. Go through. Put in our tram tracks. That bigger road, it's not. And then through to there. Up and around. Later on, we might come back and demolish the centre of the town to put in a thicker transport link. But for now, I think this is probably sufficient. Because it will increase flow through the town, because it will increase their speed and also give them more lanes to go through as well. Quick sip of tea. Definitely not ripping off Biffa there. Okay, so we've now got our stations in. Start from the hub, go out and around. And then we can call this road passenger OS loop. And I appreciate that that's already gone to we'll do that intercity east. And we've got OS loop, and that's going to be, think about this, that's clockwise. So CW, and then we'll do OS loop counterclockwise. So road passenger OS loop counterclockwise. We already have a road depot in, that's great. So if we then put, oh no, we want a tram depot, I'm being silly. Buildings, tram depot. For now, let's pull it in opposite, so we have some space to go into. It might be that I have to rethink where we've put this later on, but for now this will do. And then if we do get 4, we'll do 2 each way, so counterclockwise and then clockwise. And that's going to start generating demand for transport within the city, and that will help increase their growth. So they're being fed and they're being transported. So that will get them going for now. You see there's people already popping in. While that gets set up and demand starts building, let's go and have a look at McKinney. Probably need to do something similar. McKinney's also quite a large town. Go streets, and we put in some more tram tracks. What I'm thinking is if we, well, let's extend out, how much is that going to cost? For now, it is probably, I'm going to say no tram track for now, one bit, and that is probably worth the cost, because then we can have our straight line across the waterfront, and then they'll expand that way. They won't be able to expand this way, and we could potentially claim some more of the space for maybe like a ferry, like we talked about earlier, and we'll put that in, and move that round up to there, and then tram track. So quick auto save. Okay, then we'll go around and put our loop in, bring that. Oh, is that a narrow? That is a narrow one, it's going to be annoying. And then we can, oh, and they put one in for us, great. We'll claim that. Then we'll build that up through to there. Take it up to there. Connect down to here. And there we go. So at the start, I generally tend to do circular lines, and then towards the mid to late game when the cities get bigger and there's a bit more demand to go into the middle, I also add a normally from like one of the intercity lines to the other side with a stop in the middle to help get people in and out of the city. But for now, they should be okay. Okay, So that's our loop in. We need to put in our intercity stop. So thinking about this, we know that we want to go left out of the city. So it makes sense for us to put in our stop somewhere out towards the left, potentially even here. Although that then potentially limits our expansion, but for now I think we should be okay. Let's straighten that up a bit. I mean, if we need to, we can always reclaim some land, although it can get quite expensive. Okay, and then we'll put in, oh, we haven't put in our tram stops just yet. Let's put some tram stops in. So they'll come up to here, in each way, each way, each way. We'll go there, on each way, and then by the waterfront. We'll do the same again, so we'll go clockwise. Again, our passenger, McKinnon, CW loop, CW, and then do the same again, but counterclockwise. RP, McKinnon loop, counterclockwise, and then we need to put a tram stop. And as before, there's a bit of free space over here, so just do the same for now. We might need to relocate it later on. And we'll do the same again. We'll get 4 and then do 2 each way. That's 3. 4 is that number. We'll go counterclockwise and then clockwise. You can see just by making the change we've got, there's already been some development going on in the middle. So trams will go out, start generating demand. I kind of want to put the port in now, but it's alright, we'll come back to it. We might do like a combined transport hub. We might also need to think about trains at a later date as well. Fair chance we're going to have to demolish the centre of McKinnon to put in a large train station, because McKinnon's going to be one of our larger cities. And it will also connect to Salt Lake City, which is also a large city, so there'll be quite a lot of demand on this line. But for now, let's not worry about that too much. Let's just focus on what we're here to do today, which is putting these transport links. Let's just check the terminals on this one. So we want the internal ones to be on 1 and 2. Let's do the same over here. Internal lines to be on 1 and 2. There we go. And then follow the road up, round to Lathe. Lathe is also relatively large. Let's see if we put in some... Yeah, I'm just going to do a loop again. How much is that? And then look at the money. We've started making money now, so I'm less fussed about potentially taking cost of relocating some people. So if we quickly... Actually, we'll pause it. Let me just always think about the date. Date is also paused. Let's put the date back to normal. Okay, so we pause it because we don't want to be building stuff while we're playing with their city. We might get into some conflicts. Because we're not really consulting them about making these changes. Like, we know that they want these changes, but they don't. So yeah, we've got to give them a chance to. We can't give them a chance to get out before we do it. So there we go. Nice, simple, very simple. If I actually think about it, that's just a square. Yeah, I was glad it could even be a rectangle. No, it is completely square. We could probably get away with stops on opposite corners for now. And then we'll do our intercity out here. And again, we're just putting it on the outside because if the more... I'm going to flip those actually because it's on the opposite side. The more traffic you have in the city, the greater the pollution you have, which then impacts your growth rate. So it's better to put this kind of stuff outside and have a lower pollution link in. Yeah. So that's why I keep putting stuff on the outside. We're putting extend the tram line out to there. So they'll go up and around and then back out. We can start putting this in. We'll go clockwise first again. So RP, Lathe, loop clockwise. And then RP, loop, Lathe, counterclockwise, and then we'll put in a tram building. So road depot tram building. Yeah, we'll leave it over here for now. The city will grow, but for now we don't need to worry about that too much. We might need to relocate it later on. I'm also spotting that is a very deep... Yeah, we have some money. Let's smooth that out a bit. We want plan, smooth. Yeah, it looks slightly less... oh, that's also terrible. I know early on I said I wasn't necessarily a detail player, but I don't like when it's very angular and very clearly unnatural. Like if you think about when you see these things in real life, they tend to be a bit more natural in terms of the features around them. So there we go. So we've got our loops in. Let's buy some trams. Same again. We'll do 4. 2 on to counterclockwise, 2 on to clockwise, and we'll let them play. And this will start generating demand. So we now have our 3 local loops set up, and you can see that there's demand generated now, and they'll go around. And McKinnon also has some demand generated, and Lathe. So Lathe's probably, let's see if we can find these. So by size. So McKinnon's the largest, then Lathe actually. And then Oceanside is the smallest of the 3. So that would mean in theory that McKinnon's going to get the most traffic between it and Lathe, but we'll see. So we've now got our internal loops for all 3 of them. Now we've set the intercity, and this should be relatively simple. 1, 2, 3, and we'll stop back in at McKinnon on the way back to Oceanside. And that's going to be RP. OS to McKinnon to Lathe, and I'm thinking about this. I'm going to want to rename some of these. So that's MK Intercity South. That one's already Intercity East, and then that one needs to be Lathe Intercity West. Okay, so now I have our line set up. These are going to be very slow because we're talking about horse and cart here. Later on we will probably replace these with trains, but trains are very expensive, and this will do for now. We're going to be very ambitious. We have the cash now. Let's do it. Let's do 20 of them. I have too many lines right now. Let me zoom in a bit. There we go, want that one. They'll all come out of here. Very slowly. Let's speed up a bit. There they will come. Very exciting. Okay, and they're working their way around. So it looks like they're going to McKinnon first. Let's actually just check the path they're going to take. Okay, so interestingly, so they come out of here and then onto the busy main road. I'm tempted to make them take a less direct route so they're not competing with the goods vehicles on this line here. Well, actually, they're going to Oceanside first. Oh, they're splitting. That's good. Smart. Okay. So they have a less busy route, so it's less direct, but then potentially less. They might be going quicker than the goods vehicles. I'm not sure how much that matters right now. It will matter later on because vehicles can go at different speeds. Right now, we're talking about, let's see, that's 18 kilometers an hour. 18 kilometers an hour. So actually, they're going to go the same speed. So I don't think I need to worry about the traffic too much just yet. There we go. You can see there's already demand coming up at Oceanside. Quick auto save. And demand coming up at McKinnon. Very nice. And then hopefully demand coming up here. No, not yet. Let's check the terminals. They'll do that right. It's because we flipped this. We want intercity on 1. So you go to 3. Go to 1. So the intercity is always the smaller, well, the smaller side. Let's see. There we go. But now that that's in, that might actually trigger demand from these over here to get to here. Yeah, we've got coverage. Actually, looking at this, I'm going to add in all 4 corners just for completeness. I can see that there's not quite everything being covered, and over time this area is going to grow, and I don't think I'm necessarily going to be paying enough attention to notice it. So your Lakeview Street will add a station there to Wilson Street, College Street, add a station to there, to Meadow Street, and then we'll do the same again for the counterclockwise. That's not right. I've done this wrong. Let me rewrite that. So titles are sorted alphabetically, which is why it makes sense to do it that way around. So done counterclockwise. Yep, done that correctly. And then we'll do clockwise next. So we go to College Street. So before that we want to go to Meadow Street, and then we've got College Street to Wilson Street, and then to Lakeview Street. So now we've got better coverage all over Lathe. Yeah, there's already demand. We only need to put that in. There's already demand coming up. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave this running for a bit, and we'll come back in shortly, and then we'll see how well our transport links are working. So I'll see you in a minute. So we're just coming back in for a second because I'm just thinking about this. We probably want to add another terminal here because we're coming in twice, and just for completeness, just for tidiness, I think it would make sense to add in the second terminal so they're not competing for space, and that's the return one. So put that on 4. Let's see how that looks. So they both come in and they both go out. Fine. Okay, and then I'm going to also potentially suggest, based off what I've seen so far about demand, that we may have a few too many vehicles on this route. So cargo, there it is. So we can see that our rate is 11. We've only got 20 people using the line. Although saying that, we do have a sizable queue growing there. Yeah, 14, just relatively small. And then Olathe. For some reason Olathe isn't really generating the kind of traffic we're expecting, but I think that's because McKinnon and Oceanside with their supply of food are growing quicker. But we'll see. What I might do is, I'm looking at this, the cost that it is and the income we've got from some of the more profitable lines, I think I might just leave it as it is and subsidise it. And then we'll come back and review lines later on and see how they're doing. So I'm going to drop out again, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes and see if this stabilizes. Okay, so we're back in again. This has been running for a couple of minutes now, and I think I'm okay with the number of vehicles we've got on it. We're not necessarily making a huge amount of money, but we can see there's definitely demand. I think part of the problem is the rate is quite slow because they're only going 20 kilometers an hour. And you can see Oceanside all the way down there, and Olathe is not even visible on our map. So I think I'm okay subsidizing this. We can see we've got plenty of money to subsidize it, and it's going to help with growth. So I think with that, let's just take a quick look at what we've achieved today. So we put in a loop for Oceanside, clockwise and counterclockwise into the intercity. We've got a loop around McKinnon, so clockwise and counterclockwise, and we can see that's actually doing quite well. There's a reasonable amount of demand in and out of the city. And then we finally got Olathe. I'm not sure what's going on with Olathe. I think it might benefit from being fed. So it might be that next episode we do what we talked about at the start as one of the things we're going to potentially do today, which is up our food production. And then finally we put in a transport link between the 3 cities from Olathe down to McKinnon, and then from McKinnon to Oceanside, and then back up to McKinnon. So McKinnon is really the transport hub at the moment. And it might be that when we put in a ferry later on to Salt Lake City, that can also feed into that line, and McKinnon I think is going to become a major city for us at some point in the near future. So I think that's everything for today. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.